Welcome back to the deep dive. We are at what I think is the absolute inflection point in the NCAA men's basketball season.
Oh, for sure. Mid-January, this is it.
The calendar has turned. Those big non-conference games are mostly behind us. The holiday tournaments are done. And now we are deep in the trenches of conference play.
That's right. And this is the point where, the subjective eye test or your gut feeling, it really starts to lose its power.
Yeah, it takes a back seat.
It does. This is that moment of truth where all the media chatter collides with the cold, hard numbers that actually decide who gets into the NCAA tournament and, maybe more importantly, where they get seeded.
And that is our mission for this deep dive. We're doing this for you, the fan who gets the game but wants that shortcut to understanding what the selection committee is thinking right now. We're going to crack the code of the NCAA evaluation tool, the net rankings.
And we've got the data. This is everything through January 14th, 2026. The full list, all 365 teams.
We have the overall records, conference info, and the most critical part, those quadrant records for every single team.
And the goal here is to really get inside the algorithm's head. The net is, it's kind of a two-part system. One half is about your results, did you win or lose? And the other half is predictive. How efficient are you? How well should you play?
But the committee, when they get in that room, they really zero in on one thing from the results side.
The quadrants. It all comes down to the quads.
Okay, so let's quickly define what we're talking about here. What is the currency of the net?
The net is built to do two things. Reward you for quality wins, and really reward you, and then penalize you, sometimes catastrophically, for bad losses.
Quality wins. That means quadrant 1 and quadrant 2.
Right. And a Q1 win is the gold standard. It's the most valuable currency in college basketball, full stop.
So what is that? Beating a top 30 team at home?
A top 50 team on a neutral court or a top 75 team on the road? A Q1 win basically screams, I'm a real contender.
And Q2 wins are that next tier down, but still super important for building out that resume.
Exactly. And on the flip side, you have the ultimate sin, the Achilles heel of any tournament resume.
The quadrant 4 loss.
A Q4 loss. That's losing to a team ranked 161 or worse in the net. And if it happens in your own building, oh, man.
It's just devastating. A single one can sink an otherwise really solid resume, right? Because the committee looks at that and sees a team that can't even handle its business against bad teams.
It suggests a fundamental flaw. And what this data lets us do is look past the simple win-loss record. We can see who has built a bulletproof resume by playing tough teams and who is, kind of skating by on a pretty-looking record that's actually pretty empty.
The stage is set. Let's get into it. We're going to start right at the top.
Yeah.
The apex of excellence ranks 1 through 10. And the very first thing that it just loops off the page is that the number 1 team is not undefeated.
Right. And that tells you everything you need to know about what this system prioritizes. It's not about being perfect. It's about being proven.
Number 1 in the country right now, according to the net, is Michigan. They're 15-1.
So that one loss obviously didn't hurt them. And you have to ask why. How are they ranked ahead of teams with a 0 in the loss column?
And the answer is right there in their key records. It's a perfect storm of quality. Michigan is 4-0 in quadrant 1 games.
And 4-0 in quadrant 2.
So that's 8 wins against the top half of Divisional A basketball.
That is just the definition of dominance. Every single time they faced a legitimate opponent, a real test, they have won. That consistency against good teams, it just validates everything else and gives them this incredibly high floor.
They've aced every test. And just as important is how they've managed their losses. Or loss, singular.
Their combined record in Q3 and Q4 is 7-1, but the absolute most important number is 0-0 in Q4.
No bad losses.
Not a single one. For that one loss they have must have been, a tough road game against another Q1 team. The net basically looks at that and says, that's fine. That's the cost of doing business when you play a tough schedule.
It's the non-penalty loss.
Exactly. That one loss is completely absorbed. It's buffered by those 8 huge Q1 and Q2 wins. This is the net system basically shouting its values from the rooftops. Schedule tough, win tough games, and we'll forgive you if you slip up against another great team.
And that whole strategy has lifted them above the undefeated teams.
Whose resumes, while clean, just don't have that same density of elite wins.
Okay, but right on their heels at number 2, we have one of those undefeated giants, Arizona, sitting at rank 2 with a perfect 17-0 record coming out of the Big 12.
Now, Arizona, you could argue they're building the single most impressive resume in the country right now.
Even though they're ranked 2nd?
Yeah, because they aren't just winning, they're winning elite games. Look at their Q1 record. It's an incredible 6-0.
6 Q1 wins already. That is a blistering pace for mid-January. Plus, they're 2-0 in Q2, so that's an 8-0 quality record, just like Michigan.
But the reason they are 8 spots ahead of the other undefeated team is almost certainly the composition of those 6 Q1 wins.
You mean not all Q1 wins are created equal?
Exactly. We have to assume that Arizona's wins are against teams closer to the top of Q1. So they've probably beaten a couple teams currently ranked in, say, the top 15. The algorithm gives you maximum credit for that. It's different than beating a team ranked, 29th at home.
And that leads us perfectly to that other undefeated team. All the way down at rank 10. Nebraska, also 17-0 out of the Big Ten.
This comparison, Arizona at 2 and Nebraska at 10, both undefeated. It's a perfect illustration of how nuanced the net is.
Nebraska has an amazing record. You can't take that away.
No, it's fantastic. But their portfolio of quality wins is just a little bit lighter in terms of who those victims are.
They're still 5-0 in Q1 and 4-0 in Q2. That's 9 quality wins, which is amazing.
It is. But when you put it next to Arizona's 6-0 in Q1, the metrics are telling us that Arizona's opponents were tougher, or maybe they got more of those wins on the road or on a neutral court, which the net values more.
So it's that subtle difference in the quality wins that creates this 8-spot gap in the rankings.
Right. The algorithm is basically saying, look, not all perfect records are the same. Now, if Nebraska keeps winning, those Q1 wins will look better and better as the Big Ten beats up on each other. But for now, they're looking up at some one-loss teams.
Let's talk about those other elite one-loss teams. At number 3, you've got Duke, 16-1, the ACC making its presence felt.
And Duke is sitting on a beautiful 5-0 Q1 record. They've used their national brand to build a monster schedule, and they've cashed in on every big opportunity.
And again, that one loss is buffered. They're 3-1 in Q2, and crucially, 0-0 in Q4. The resume is clean.
It's not just about winning the big ones. It's about not losing the easy ones.
Then you have the perennial mid-major powerhouse at number 4, Gonzaga, 17-1 from the WCC.
Yeah, and it's always a challenge for a WCC team to stack up enough Q1 wins. Their conference schedule just isn't as tough as the Big Ten or Big 12.
So they have to do their work in November and December.
And they have. They're 3-0 in Q1 wins. But what really makes their profile pop is their Q2 record, 5-1.
So they've won a bunch of those tough, but not elite road or neutral site games.
Exactly. And that gives them the padding they need for when they get into the WCC schedule, where a lot of their wins are going to be classified as Q3 or even Q4.
It's a strategic masterpiece. They know the system. They have one Q2 loss, and they're a combined 9-0 in Q3 and Q4. They play the game perfectly every single year.
And then the rest of the top 10. You've got Purdue at 5, Iowa State at 6, UConn at 7, BYU at 8, and Illinois at 9. They all share that same DNA. A really strong portfolio of quality wins.
Purdue is 3-0 Q1, UConn is 5-0 Q1. They all pass that fundamental test of, okay, but have you beaten anybody good?
With flying colors.
What's interesting is that Illinois at rank 9 has 3 losses. 3. And they are still ranked ahead of undefeated Nebraska.
And that's the key. That tells the whole story right there. Illinois has 4 Q1 wins, but they're 4-3 in their combined Q1 and Q2 games. They've lost a few.
But then the net doesn't care.
The net is totally fine with those losses, because they came against a brutal schedule. The committee looks at that 14-3 record with 4 huge wins and 3 quality losses and sees a better, more battle-tested resume than a perfect record that hasn't faced the same fire.
So the losses aren't seen as failures. They're battle scars, proof that you survived the gauntlet.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that leads us to the conference hierarchy. You can see it just by looking at this top 10. There's a huge concentration of power.
Oh, absolutely. Let's just tally it up. The Big Ten is leading the charge with 4 teams in the top 10. You've got Michigan at 1, Purdue at 5, Illinois at 9, and Nebraska at 10. That's just terrifying depth.
And the Big 12 is right there with them. 3 teams. Arizona at 2, Iowa State at 6, and BYU at 8.
The other 3 spots go to the ACC with Duke, the WCC with Gonzaga, and the Big East with UConn.
The implication here is massive for what's coming in March. This data pretty much establishes the Big 10 and the Big 12 as the premier leagues in the country. Not just in top-end quality, but in depth.
And think about what that means for a team in one of those conferences that's, say, ranked 60th right now.
It gives them what I call the net floor. Their conference schedule is so hard that basically every single night is a Q1 or Q2 opportunity.
They don't have to go hunting for big games. They just have to show up for their conference schedule.
And survive it. Even finishing with a losing record in the Big Ten can be seen as a quality resume by the net. because your strength of schedule is through the roof. The system is basically saying these two conferences are just built different. They're built for March.
All right, this is where it gets really fun and maybe a little controversial. We're getting into the quality loss debate.
The fuzzy math part of the net.
We're moving past the teams with near-perfect resumes and looking at the resilient ones. We're talking teams with 5, even 6 losses that are still ranked high enough to get a really good seed.
And this section just reveals the heart and soul of the system. We're going to look at teams ranked 16, 17, and 24. All of them have a 12-5 record, 5 losses. But they are firmly in line for, what, a 4 or 5 seed?
Yeah, easily. Let's start with Florida at rank 16. They're 12-5 in the SEC. And right next to them is Kansas, ranked 17, 12-5 in the Big 12.
5 losses for each of them. And yet, here they are, solidly in the teens, ranked way ahead of teams with much better looking records.
So why?
It's a massive, unambiguous reward for scheduling tough. That's it. Both of these teams went through a brutal non-conference schedule. They got beat up a little, but they didn't break.
Okay, let's look at the numbers. They've both played 8 games against Q1 or Q2 opponents, and both of them had a record of 3-5 in those games.
So they've lost more than they've won against the best teams on their schedule. But the key, and I really can't say this enough, is that none of those 5 losses were cheap.
Right. This is the common denominator. It's the most important part. Both Florida and Kansas have a perfect 0-0 record in Quadrant 4.
They did not stumble. They didn't lose to a team ranked 161 or worse. Not once.
And that completely validates the whole quality loss idea. The committee is basically saying, we would rather see you lose 5 times to other top 50 teams
than lose just once to a team in the 200s.
Right.
Those 5 losses against the big boys are seen as prep, as proof of mettle. That one loss to a bottom feeder is seen as a systemic failure, a fatal flaw.
It's like the 5 losses are getting Bs in 5 really hard classes. It's not perfect, but it's respectable.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And the one Q4 loss is like writing a brilliant 20-page paper but having a glaring typo in the very first sentence. You just can't unsee it.
And we see the exact same pattern with Tennessee. They're at rank 24, also 12-5 from the SEC, 5 quality losses, 0-0 in Q4. The SEC and the Big 12 have mastered this.
So let's look a little deeper at the mid-tier of these big leagues. You have a team like Alabama, ranked 18th at 12-5.
Their quality win numbers are really impressive. They're 2-1 in Q1 and 4-2 in Q2. That's a combined 6-3 record in quality games.
So they're getting a huge amount of credit for winning those games, which keeps them inside the top 20 even with 5 losses.
Then there's Arkansas 23. They're 13-4. Their quality wins are a little less impressive, but just being in the SEC helps their strength of schedule number so much. The conference itself is like a shield.
Right. But then you look over at the ACC and you see North Carolina. They're ranked 30th. Their record is a very respectable 14-3.
On paper, 14-3 looks great, but the metrics are telling a different story.
Yeah, their resume feels a little thin compared to the top teams. They're only 1-2 in Q1 and 2-1 in Q2. That's only 3 total quality wins. They just haven't cashed in on their big opportunities.
So they're kind of relying on that brand name and the win total, but the net sees a lack of elite performance. They need to start stacking Q1 wins in conference play fast.
Or they're going to find themselves in that dreaded 8-9 seed game.
Okay, now for one of the most interesting contrasts on the entire list. Mid-major star power versus mid-major vulnerability. First, let's talk Utah State. Rank 15. They are 14-1 from the Mountain West. That is an eye-popping number.
It's a huge statement for the MWC. And it's all because of their Q1 performance. They're 4-1 in Q1 games. They went out in the non-conference and won the games they had to win.
But we spotted a problem, a potential fatal flaw in their resume, even at rank 15.
Yes. Their Q4 record, it's 1-0. They have a Quadrant 4 loss.
A single Q4 loss for a team ranked 15th in the country? That's a huge red flag.
It is. The algorithm is currently rewarding their 4 Q1 wins so much that it's outweighing the penalty from that one bad loss for now. But you can bet the selection committee will see that. It'll be the first thing they notice. Their net rank is high, but their actual resume is compromised.
That's a great distinction. The formula puts you there, but the human committee uses that Q4 metric as a filter.
And what happens when they drop a tough Q3 game in the Mountain West, which is bound to happen? That pressure will just build and build. It creates a narrative that they struggle with consistency against teams they should beat.
Now let's go to the true anomaly, the ghost in the machine. Miami of Ohio, rank 47. They are 15-0. Perfect. From the MAC.
15-0 sounds amazing, right? But this is the ultimate trap team in the net era.
What do you mean?
Their ranking is high because of the predictive side of the net, not the results side. They have 0 losses, so the results part can't penalize them. Their efficiency numbers must be off the charts, so the algorithm predicts that they should be a top 50 team.
But where's the proof? Where did they test that theory?
It doesn't exist. Their Q3 record is 7-0, so they handle their own weight class. But look at the top quadrants. 0-0 in Q1, and only 1-0 in Q2. They have not beaten a single good team.
So their ranking is built on a house of cards.
An extremely fragile house of cards. They are 1 loss away from a catastrophic collapse down the rankings. The moment they lose a Q3 game in the MAC, and they will, their resume will be exposed.
That loss would just invalidate everything they did in the non-conference.
Instantly. They probably plummet 30 or 40 spots overnight. They are living on borrowed time.
All right, let's move into the real heart of the bubble. Ranks 51 to 150. This is where you see major conference teams just trying to survive and mid-majors fighting for their lives.
This is the logjam. And it really shows you that massive advantage of being in a conference like the Big Ten or the Big 12, even if your record is just...
Let's take Washington. Rank 57. They are 10-7 in the Big Ten. They have a losing conference record, but they're ranked 57th. How is that possible?
It's all about schedule strength and loss management. Washington has 4 Q1 losses and 3 Q2 losses.
So 7 of their 7 losses are quality losses.
Exactly. And they have a clean 0-0 record in Q4. The committee will look at that 10-7 and say, okay, they lost 7 times, but look who they lost to. 4 teams in our top 30. And they never, ever lost to a bad team.
They get credit for the attempt.
They get a safety net because their strength of schedule number will always be high. They're testing themselves against the best every single week.
You see the same thing with Kansas State. Ranked 77, they have a losing record at 9-8 in the Big 12. But their 4 Q1 losses prove they're playing a monster schedule. If they can flip some of those games in the second half, they have a real path to the tournament.
Now, let's look at the Big East. A team like Villanova is sitting pretty at rank 27, 14-3 record. They're 5-1 in Q1 games. They're kind of an island of quality in that league this year.
But then you scroll down, and you keep scrolling, all the way to rank 149, and you find Marquette, sitting there at 6-12.
12 losses. How on earth can a team with 12 losses still be ranked inside the top 150?
It's that strength of schedule shield again, turned up to the max.
Marquette has 5 Q1 losses and 2 Q2 losses. 7 of their 12 losses are to elite teams. And, you guessed it, they are 0-0 in Q4 losses.
So they're losing, but they're only losing to good teams.
Which means, mathematically, they are still alive. It's a long shot. But if they get hot in February and win a few of those Q1 games, they could rise up the rankings incredibly fast because their schedule strength is already banked. They've maintained their competitive dignity.
And this is where that cost of a bad loss really comes into focus. Let's look at Texas, rank 40. They're 10-6 in the SEC. They have 1 fewer loss than Washington.
Right, but they're ranked way lower than those 5-loss teams like Kansas and Florida.
And the reason is that the single devastating number on their resume. Their Q4 record is 1-0.
They have a Q4 loss. They lost to a team ranked 161 or worse.
Yeah.
And that is an absolute killer. Doesn't matter how many good teams you've played. That one loss is like an anchor dragging the whole resume down.
It completely invalidates their other work and pushes them way below teams that have more losses but kept their Q4 record clean.
The system sees failure against a peer as a part of the game. It sees failure against an inferior opponent as a sign of systemic weakness. It's a lack of discipline. And the net punishes that without mercy.
Now, in the mid-major world, the bubble hunt is just as intense, but the path is so much narrower.
For sure. You've got St. Mary's from the WCC at rank 28. They're 16-2. They are basically solidifying the WCC as a 2-bid league with Gonzaga.
And their strategy is perfect for a mid-major. They got 4 Q1 wins in the non-conference, and now they are just dominating the teams they're supposed to beat. They're 8-0 in Q3 games.
That shows incredible discipline. No letdowns, no bad losses.
But then you go further down, and you see the real challenge. You've got Belmont at 61 and Murray State at 62, both 15-3, both from the Missouri Valley.
And they are dominating their level. Belmont is 7-1 in Q3. Murray State is 9-0. They are excellent basketball teams. But their Q1 and Q2 success is almost non-existent.
Which means
their entire season comes down to 3 days in March at their conference tournament. Their only path to the NCAA tournament is to win the auto bid.
So if they slip up there, even with 25 wins, their resume just doesn't have the quality wins to get an at-large bid.
That's the tough reality. The net is all about testing your mettle against the best, and if you don't have those Q1 wins on your resume, it doesn't matter how many games you win. You're basically in a single elimination tournament for your season.
Okay, let's flip the script and go all the way to the other end of the list. The Cellar Dwellers ranks 250 down to 365.
Yeah, and this part of the list, it really reveals the painful reality of what happens when you accumulate bad losses, Q3 and especially Q4 losses.
This isn't about being unlucky against a top 10 team anymore.
No, this is about a fundamental breakdown. This is about losing to teams in the 100s, 200s, and even 300s.
You see a team like LaSalle, they're at rank 244, 413 record from the Atlantic 10, which is a pretty decent conference.
But look at their loss profile. They have a combined 8 losses in Q3 and Q4. 8. So more than half of their losses have come against teams ranked outside the top 75. For an A10 team, that just kills you. Even if they got hot, that foundation is just too weak to ever build on.
And then even further down, rank 316, Loyola Chicago, 513, also in the A10, and their profile's just it's staggering.
Loyola Chicago is the poster child for the Q4 epidemic. They have a 1-5 record in Q3 and a 3-4 record in Q4.
Wait, they have 4 Q4 losses.
4. 4 times they have lost to a team ranked 161st or worse. That's almost impossible to come back from. It signals a complete and total failure to execute against teams you should be beating easily. They're mathematically eliminated from any at-large consideration.
And when you look at the very, very bottom of the list, you start to see entire conferences clustered together. The SWAC, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, really dominates the bottom.
Yeah, the SWAC has the bottom 2 teams in the entire country. And, this is often a reflection of some pretty tough systemic issues. Low resources, tough travel, that kind of thing.
The very last team, rank 365, is Mississippi Valley. Their record is 0-17. 4 of those are Q4 losses.
And you have to understand the economics of it. A lot of these teams play what are called bye games. They go on the road and play a top power conference team for a big paycheck that funds their whole athletic department.
So they're guaranteed to get a bunch of Q1 losses from those games.
Which in theory aren't bad losses. But the travel and getting beat up by those top teams wears them down. And then they come back and stumble against a Q4 team they should beat, and that's the mortal wound to their net ranking. It's a vicious cycle.
Right next to them, you have Gardner-Webb, rank 363, they're 0-16, and they have 6 Q4 losses.
And North Florida at 351, they're 0-15, they're the only other winless team. These records just show how tough the reality is for these programs.
But it's not just the small conferences. We have to point out that even the major conferences have some teams that are really, really struggling.
Oh, yeah. Look at the ACC's Florida State. They're all the way down at rank 134 with a 7-10 record. For an ACC school to be outside the top 100 in January is a disaster.
They've kept their Q4 record clean, but they're 0-7 in Q1 and Q2 games combined.
So they're taking all the quality losses, but they aren't getting any of the quality wins. The net sees that they're trying, but they just can't get over the hump. They're seen as a team that just can't capitalize.
And you see a similar story with Utah in the Big 12, rank 130, 8-9 record. They have 6 combined Q1, Q2 losses. They're just getting beaten up every night in the toughest conference in America.
What this whole bottom section tells us is that while Q1 wins can launch you to the top, Q4 losses will drag you straight to the bottom. And if you can't get any of those quality wins, your safety net, even in a big conference, is very, very thin.
Okay, let's wrap this up. Let's synthesize all this data from mid-January. The central lesson, to me, seems crystal clear. The algorithm and the committee that uses it values quality over quantity. And maybe even more than that, it values loss management over simple perfection.
That's the whole game right there. The data proves exactly why a 12-5 team like Kansas is sitting pretty at rank 17.
Well, a 15U team like Miami of Ohio is on the ropes at rank 47.
Right. Kansas has proof of concept against top teams. Miami has high efficiency against low-level competition. One is proven. The other is a fragile mathematical promise.
And that single Q4 loss for Texas, which dropped them more than 20 spots below their peers, it just proves that the penalty for one bad loss is so much more toxic than the penalty for losing multiple times to great teams.
He just poisons the whole resume. So moving forward, the thing I'm watching is how those 2 undefeated teams handle the pressure. Arizona at 2 and Nebraska at 10.
They've built these incredible resumes so far, but now they're entering the real meat grinder of their conference schedules.
Every single game from here on out will have a huge ripple effect. will those Q1 records hold up? If they lose, it won't be a catastrophe if it's a Q1 loss, but the pressure is on to maintain that high level of efficiency.
Yeah, a close win against a bad team could almost hurt them as much as a good loss.
Exactly. And I'm also watching a team like Utah State. Can their overwhelming Q1 success make the committee overlook that one Q4 flaw?
Which leaves us with one final provocative thought for you to think about as this season rolls on. The net clearly tells us that losing to a great team is better than beating 3 bad teams.
It creates a fascinating strategic dilemma, doesn't it? If the system keeps rewarding risky scheduling, you have to wonder if coaches will start to change how they think.
What do you mean?
Well, what if you're a team like Belmont? You desperately need Q1 wins, but you have this perfect Q4 record you need to protect. Does that pressure to stay perfect actually hold you back from scheduling a tough game that could get you into the tournament?
So the truly interesting question is, could a coach, I don't know, almost deliberately schedule a strategic Q4 loss?
It's a wild thought, right? But what if you play some weird exhibition early in the season that counts? You lose it, and you get that Q4 loss out of the way. Then your resume is already compromised.
So then you're free to play fearlessly.
Exactly. You can schedule those high-risk, high-reward Q1 games knowing the biggest mathematical penalty has already been paid. The data suggests the system rewards the fearless. Maybe it's time to embrace calculated failure.
That is a perfect place to leave it. We have cracked the midseason code. We know what these teams need to do. We'll be back to see how it all shakes out as we get closer to Selection Sunday. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Ball game, I'm the reason that they all came. I'm headed to the Hall of Fame. Best believe that I'll never have an off game. Got a soft touch on the big stage. End of the game, so clutch. Lockdown D so deadly. Hit half court shots as the warm up. It ain't hard. I'm the one that you can't guard. Got a feeling that I can't lose, I can't stop. Money with the bank shot. Number 1 draft pick, mind blowing. Ain't no slowing when I'm going to the basket. I'm balling out. MVP, they calling out. Like Kobe, you know me, you're better than show me. I'm standing on the stage with the trophy. I've been around, I'm an OG. Retiring my jersey. Street credit so athletic, guarantee a victory. You wanna win, better stick with me. When the rock's out, I box out. In the lead when the clock's out. There never was any doubt. I'm here to get the win, then I'm in and out. I play ball in the playoffs. Your game's off, you remain soft. I ball's hard, I'm an all-star. I'm pumped off in a jump ball. So what's up? I'm on top and I can't be touched, bruh. I shine like a skylight. Get it poppin', top 10 highlight. On the playground, I raise up, make 'em lay down. The alley-oop, sit back, watch daddy. I'm putting on for the city. My jump shot is so pretty, I'm a winner. Catch me on Sports Center like a free throw. All about the team, not about my ego.